Wagwan family. Once again, we've managed to organize another soccer family get together. I'm the guy, I don't have headphones, but I'm the guy that's a part of this call, M. Today we have a cast of characters. All right. So say what's up to them, Nahom. Say what's up to the people.
What's up, people? Big up the Chelsea. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to see, but we get the 2020 year. You know?
Oh man. One time. All right. And then next up we have B.
Yeah, what's up, people? Back again. You know what I
O-
mean?
Okay. And then next up we have Mr. Akan. Akan is gonna be the good guy on the Arsenal side. B is the bad guy on the Arsenal side. You know, good cop.
What's up, everybody? Arsenal. Ramadan Mubarak to all my Muslim brothers and sisters out there celebrating.
Okay, yeah, it is the start of Ramadan. Also, if we're giving out shout outs, let's shout out to Aydin Peraste. That guy, he's still on the front status for the podcast. So, big up to Aydin for that. So let's jump into it, guys. We haven't been able to get together physically, but we have the potential now to get together across the web. So real quick, there's a lot going on right now in the Premier League, and by a lot I mean nothing at all. All right. So unprecedented times going on right now. Now, what do you think about there's this concept of players taking a pay cut? Like, what do you think players? Do you think players should take a pay cut due to the unprecedented times?
The human side of me says yes. Should they be forced to take one? I don't think. Because it's not their fault. This is going on. You know what I'm saying? But so from a player perspective, I understand them, having a little concern about how much the percentage is and stuff like that. The one thing that I don't like about it, so from a human side, yes, I think there should be a percentage cut out if it's going to support the staff and everybody else, and they don't have to get furloughed. From a business perspective, I mean, from what I've heard, they have one person negotiating the whole, like the captain. Like Aspilicueta would be the negotiator for Chelsea. I think Bellerin is the negotiator for Arsenal, from what I've seen on ESPN and the report. But it's like Bellerin isn't really experienced and is not an attorney and is not an agent that can negotiate these same things. So it's one of those things where what's fair? Like, are we taking off a percentage of my weekly fee? Are we taking a percentage of my yearly? There's so many different nuances, and so it's one of those things where I think it should be more of somewhat of a deferment more than a pay cut, because it's just certain numbers have to add up for me to be like, all right, I'm cool with 10% of my wages being taken off. You know what I'm saying?
Why do you
So,
think that they should take a pay deferment?
well, because it's one of those things where it's like it could be a deferment with maybe a side note of saying, I how much money did we lose in terms of revenue? Like, it's got to make sense. You can't tell me you lose X amount of money and it's not really what you thought, but I'm still taking a 10% cut on my money. You get what I'm saying? So the club is not really taking as much of a hit as we anticipated. So it's one of those things where, like, maybe deferment is not the greatest term to use. It's more of just like, all right, you don't pay me 3-4 months that we're not doing anything, right? But once that time passes and we evaluate the numbers, then we come up with a number that we can work with. But to just say 10% off the top, if I'm a guy making 5,000 a week, and Tammy Abraham is making like what 20 a week, and Hudson Odoi is making 180 a week. 10% means it's very different for both of us. So I just think it should be on a player like each player perspective versus just like a whole team taking 10% off. It's from a business side.
So B, do you agree with this? Do you agree with this statement?
Um, I would say first, it's not legally. It's not a legally. You cannot force the player to take a pay cut. That's the first thing, right? So, but morally, it looks wrong when a player like, for example, like Ozil, who's the highest paid earner at the club. Ozil is making 350,000 a week,
A, a week.
a week. So
It seems like you know a lot
morally,
about Ozil.
so when you have a
Sounds
guy
like they have
making
somebody in the locker room.
when you have a guy who's making 350,000 a week, right? And the agreement that they came with, because that's another thing. They sort of one day threw Ozil under the bus, which is wrong, but that's a different story, right? But the agreement that they came up with was they're going to take a 12 and a half pay cut, but it has incentives on it. So if they make the Champions League, they get that money back. Plus, they get an additional $100,000 for making the Champions League. If they made the UEFA Cup, they get that money back. They get 7.5% of that money back, right? But again, all of that stuff is that it's not, because again, just like how Ozil said he didn't want to take the pay cut, there are other players who didn't take the pay cut, but their name is not in the media. So you know there's an issue right there. But you cannot force the players to do it. When they ask Bellerin, if Bellerin is negotiating for the players, he's not going to just make the decision by himself. He's going to go back to the players, and then they talk and they talk and they talk and they talk. Because more than half the Arsenal players didn't agree on the pay cut. But then the manager had to come in and he helped smooth it over, and then a lot of other players agreed to it. We're in unprecedented times. You understand? So a lot of things that's happening, it's just morally you would expect, and it looks bad. It looks really bad for a player like him who's making that much amount of money to not say, you know what, I agree to take a pay cut. When you have guys who, as what Nahom said, who's making $3,000, $5,000, they agree on a pay cut, right?
All right.
You have other talismans like Messi and Cristiano. Those guys are taking not 12%. Those guys are taking 70%.
Okay, so B, every Nahom B, I let you guys go, but we're kind of looking at it. Everybody, the responses are based on a player perspective. All right, so Furkan, like, how do you think the best way it is for like actual clubs? You know what I mean? How do you think it's the best way for the clubs to go about it?
Look, I think we're looking at this from the perspective of the very top clubs, and then on the other hand, smaller clubs operating at the bottom of the league. It should be really two different ways to look at it. As far as the top clubs, I don't think that the way that we are approaching this pay cut is the right way. Considering that top clubs are owned by billionaire owners who, can afford to chip in and help as well, right? But the media and the powers that be, everybody's putting a lot of pressure on the players. The state is putting the country is putting a lot of pressure on the players to take a pay cut. When I don't really think it's fair to pressure a player, and then you have players like Ozil that everybody knows is at the top of the wage structure in a certain club. A lot of pressure on Ozil, and you're not really getting the full story. So, it's one thing to ask the players to take a pay cut, but let's understand that the players also have the right to deny that, which I think is also fair. In the case,
but wait, can I ask you a question?
No, this is my thing, B. You guys are all talking about if I have a job, I'm working, I'm a working man, and then you guys are gonna come to me and tell me that you want me to take a pay cut because coronavirus is going around, and okay, so you know what I mean? Like, why are you guys gonna pressure me? Why is everybody siding on the side of, oh yeah, morally, is this the right thing for you to do when everybody knows that if you come to me and tell me that I need to take a pay cut because of some other, I'm gonna be on the fence, right?
Personal lives.
It's for the benefit of the club.
None of us are taking pay cuts.
Yeah. What happens if they refuse?
No. If
No.
my company tells me to pay cut, guess what? No, Home's gonna take a pay cut. I have no option. Or they sack.
That is a different story. So that's why I feel like it might be on the onus. Like it feels like it's one of those things where it's like a mafia movie where they don't tell you go do something, but then you have to do it because what other choice do you have? Right. So if you're someone that's actually if you're like your job now home where you said that if they tell you to take a pay cut, you're definitely going to be taking a pay cut. There's nothing going on, but I will not willingly offer my 10%. Like, There you go, guys.
But we're not making 350K a week either.
Yeah,
Like it's
but
Even though it's the cost of living for them is up there. You know what I mean? And the
it's
cost,
subjective.
not 350 a week.
everybody's living within their means. And so for him, those guys lose 10% of their pay cut. Now they can't pay off the restaurant employees. Like that's the kind of thing that goes through their minds. You know what I mean? But for us, we're living a different scale. So when you guys say that you're going to take 10% of what he was earning, or deciding to take a 70% pay cut, I don't even know how Messi does that.
But let's be clear.
I'm
Let's
sure
be
he's
clear.
taking
Most clubs are taking pay cuts.
Yes.
Most clubs. There's not a debate amongst other clubs except Arsenal right now. Yeah, I think Chelsea just came back and said they're not doing pay cuts at all for Chelsea players. That
Well,
just
to be
happened today.
honest,
Chelsea's not doing a pay cut at all. I saw.
At
no, no,
all.
no, no. Chelsea
That changed
did.
today.
Chelsea did.
No.
Chelsea took a 10%. The players agreed to take a 10% pay cut.
I saw today.
But today they came back, baby. They came back and said they're not doing a pay cut. Like not the players. The club is not going to make them do it.
Right.
Okay, fine. But again, it comes back to, because you see, again, it's what Emmy said. It comes back. Remember, at first, Liverpool and Tottenham, those guys their plan was to take, was basically to take, it's like how in America they're taking, the companies are taking checks from the government. They were planning on taking a check that's what those big clubs were doing. They were planning on taking a check from the government to help to pay some of their workers so they don't lay them off. But then the pressure from the public forced them to reverse that decision, right? And then no, and again, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'm going to have more information on Arsenal. I'm going to be more informed. So what happened was, for Arsenal, they asked, the owner is investing money in the club. Then they took the executives, and the executives are taking 30%. I think it's 30% or something like that of their annual wages or something to that. They are taking that and invest in the club, and then they turn around and ask the players, "Would you take?" They ask them to negotiate, and it's not really a pay cut, because it's all what happened is, again, if they reach certain measures, they get the money back, plus they get incentives. You understand? That's where that is coming from. So it's not like they're just taking the money away. Other clubs, because the deal that was on the table for Chelsea, there was no incentive at the end. There was that, they're asking them to take like a 10% for like 4 months or something like that. With Arsenal, there was an incentive at the end. They can get the money back, plus they could get an extra 100,000 if they make the Champions League.
Which is a very slim chance that happens.
That's a different story. That's a different story.
But I mean, it's not really a different story to be when that's a big part. Again, if the money's the same for Europa League, because you have to look at it from a numbers perspective, right? Like for them to make Champions League and everything else, everything will literally have to go perfect. So from a player's perspective, like if I'm Ozil, I'm like, yo, what is the owner contributing to this? Like I just need to do a lot of fact finding before I agree to just a 10% cutoff based off of making,
Exactly.
Well, you see, I'm gonna make a Congo. I want to answer you, but I'm gonna let him go. Go.
So Okan, for you, go ahead.
Look, I don't like the way the club approached the whole situation. They're asking the players to be generous, but they're setting it up in a way that the players don't really have a chance to reject the offer without looking like, bad guys, without looking like enemies. Because the club asking the players to be generous, players should be able to say no, or I want to donate in my way. Because I think Ozil said he wants to donate a certain percentage of his wages to his charities, and whatever his interests are. And players should have the right to do that. These players sign these contracts, they earn these contracts, and the club is getting. I saw that Arteta was involved, and he's getting involved in the meetings with the players, and there's just a lot of pressure from the club to do this, to fall in line, when it really, the coach shouldn't get involved, and the board members shouldn't get involved. It should be something that's kept in house. And if certain players decide to take a pay cut, let them take a pay cut. If certain players decide they want to figure things out on their own, let them do that.
So, B, my question to you, Akan did mention a point where he said that he wanted to give the players the opportunity to donate to something for of their cause, as opposed to just giving the money back to the corporation.
Mhm.
Why is that not a like? Why is that not a thing? Why is that not being considered?
Well, okay. We are this situation. This is a specific situation which we don't know. We have never seen the situation before. People are losing their jobs because there's no games. There's no games. Nothing. There's no revenue coming in. So the club is just asking them, hey, can you help out with this? This specifically, right? No. You see, the only reason why this becomes an issue is because one, Arsenal is trying to get rid of Ozil, and they're trying to get rid of him. Because think about it, he wasn't the only one. It's like just as what you got, he wasn't the only one that didn't accept the deal. There was another player who didn't do it. In fact, they said
There's
there were
two
two
players.
players exactly.
Yeah,
But guess what? They didn't name
three in
those two
total.
players. Right? They didn't name those two players. But the only reason why they named Ozil is because this is an opportunity to make him look bad, right, in the public eye, right? So when they make him look bad in the public eye, it's like they're forcing him to take a pay cut. And this is like a regular. Listen, it's when you guys, one, two, three, all four of us. It's when your boss say, "Hey, um, can you guys come to the meeting on Friday?" She's not going to tell you, "Hey, you need to come to the meeting." She's going to say, "Can you come to the meeting?" We all know what that means. It means you need to be there. She's not going to force you
Early.
to go,
But that's what
but
but that's what Khan is
you know
saying.
how that
He's
stuff works.
B B. That's
Yes.
what Khan is saying. He's saying it's not fair how they threw him under the bus because he didn't give. Like he should have the option to say no. I don't want to give. My thing
Yeah,
is this:
but he
how
did
did
say
that
no.
information get out? That should be held inside
That
of the
again,
club
that is
and
that
be
is that
done.
is the part that we need to talk about.
Because I'm pretty sure that happened at a lot more clubs than Arsenal.
Yes,
The back and forth.
that is the part that we need to talk about, right? I think it got out because they're trying to get rid of him, and this is an opportunity to sink him, to make him look bad. Because I think about it. You think if it was someone like Aubameyang,
Aubameyang.
what if it's
Yep.
Aubameyang who decided not to take the pay cut?
Because those
Think
cars
about it.
cost money,
You
man.
don't hear
Aubameyang
his
got
name in
gold
the media.
cars and
You're not going to hear his name because he's the darling or he's the good guy. But because it's Ozil and they have been trying for the longest to get rid of him, right? Someone, think about it. They leaked the information. They said three guys took
there's
it.
something fishy going on.
I can't.
Yeah,
I can't. Hold on. Let me pull a con into. So I was trying to avoid the Arsenal conversation for. I tried my best. I tried my best to not talk about Arsenal today, but these guys are the only ones that are giving us drama and entertainment, right? So it's like every main plot has Arsenal intertwined in it somehow. So this question that I have for you, Akan, help me to figure this out. Who is the snitch in this Arsenal dressing room? Like, who is the rat? I need to know. We need to know what's
Ramsey.
because
That's Ramsey.
why is also Ozil why is Ozil being looked at as a scapegoat, and there's two other players that we need to be talking about that's refusing to take a pay cut. Nobody wants to talk about those two players. Like, what is your take on it?
I think that there's, like B said, there is. I don't even want to say that it's one player. I think, Bellerin is communicating his meetings back to the board, and most likely somebody in management or somebody in the board is leaking these stories out to the media. And Arsenal they have deals with John Cross and all these reporters that cover the team, and those guys are blasting the stories out. But I think the club itself is trying to make Ozil look bad. That's why we only know that Ozil refused to take the pay cut, even though there was another player, probably Aubameyang. He makes a lot of money. He drives the fancy cars. It would make sense that he also wouldn't want to take a pay cut either. But you only hear Ozil. And that also tells you that the club doesn't care about, the generosity. They don't care about helping people in COVID-19. That undermines the point of the pay cut when they're only leaking, the players that refuse to take it for bad press.
Not necessarily.
It's just
Not
just
necessarily.
typical
You could say
Arsenal.
they're trying to do. I would say not necessarily. I would say they can do two things at once. They can save some money while at the same time trying to accomplish something they have been trying. Because since they gave Ozil a contract, they have been trying to get rid of him since they gave him that contract. So any opportunity that they get to try to smear him, because all the Ozil backers are going to say, "Oh, he donated a lot of money to charity," right? That's what a lot of people are going to say. But this situation, it makes him look so bad. And I wouldn't be surprised if eventually he turns around and say, you know what? Because the funny thing, he didn't say he's not going to take it. He said he's going to wait and see. Because that's what he said. He said he's going to wait and see that maybe later he give a little bit even more money. Right? But he just looks bad that everyone takes a pay cut and the guy who's making the most money can't take 12%.
But yeah, but B, I tell you what, man, I think a lot of people are, from what I've seen, it's been more outside of the media. It's been more backers of Ozil. Like, I can understand why he feels that way. The guys that see through the bullshit, like us, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we see it. We see it. We don't see it for what it is. We know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And Ozil ain't stupid. Ozil's not. There's no other club that's gonna give him that contract. He's not leaving under any circumstances whatsoever.
He earned that contract, man. It's not the club. The club gave him the money. He didn't give it to himself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yo,
I just want to know what the owner is doing. What is the owner giving? What is that American guy giving?
Yeah. What is this? Go ahead, Noam.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I guarantee Ozil's point is I want to. That guy didn't dedicate no IG stories, no IG post to this at all. The guy said Happy Eid to everyone, just chilling. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things. He's not concerned. But I'm pretty sure that it's not personal to him, and it's his lawyer and his agent that are coming up with these situations of like what is like 10% of 350 is different than 10% of $5,000. Like the guy's that's a lot of money, and he's got to pay a shit ton of taxes. So he's like, look, I'm willing to. He can give 5% of his salary, and it would look like something crazy, and it wouldn't be that 10-12% they pay the club every week. You get what I'm saying? So from a numbers perspective, it doesn't make sense for him to say, yes, I'll do it. But the key point we got to look into is the fact that this is the reason why Bellerin's in the middle. Like there's negotiations that happen between teams. You get what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where it's just like and anytime you're negotiating, this is what happens. But unfortunately for Arsenal, it went out to the press. You know what I'm saying? So you can't call him. I guarantee there's more Ozils out there.
I was about to say
that doesn't make sense.
There's so many players out there that believe in what Ozil believes in, but for some reason Ozil's name is the only one that comes out. Because I'm sure out of all of these, we have 20 teams, right? And we have, let's say, 18 to 20 on our roster. You're telling me that there's only one and then two unknowns that believe that have this belief?
And I just want to add one point when I'm talking about, but was it not Leeds, but Derby. Derby cut the entire U21 team, right? You know what I'm saying? They cut the entire team, U21, the program. And then they were trying to mandate like a 40% pay cut from the senior players. So there's this aroma of mandating, like, yo, this is what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. That's not right.
So Ozil, I can't.
Yeah, so Herndon ain't nothing, dog.
Yeah, we don't like Herndon.
Ryan hopped on.
Everybody's talking about Ozil. Chelsea had 20 Ozil.
And why every time you come on here you look like an old man first?
Yo, why you always trying to come at Chelsea, dog?
Listen, we gotta be fair here. We talking Ozil.
Figo, it's so funny. You just came in at the right time because we were just now talking about how Ozil taking a pay cut and how like basically saying that he should not be criticized.
Not just Ozil, Ryan, but like shit. Go ahead, Akan.
We're talking, everybody's.
B said, finish your point when the guy said Chelsea. B think he's slick.
Let me just say this: the media is taking that shot at Ozil. He's just one player out of the two that refuse to take pay cuts at Arsenal. Chelsea have 20 Ozils. None of them are taking pay cuts, and we don't hear people about them.
But okay, my thing
No,
is, don't that
that's
make
not what happened at
wait?
Chelsea.
Yeah, but wait, don't that make that highlights? Don't that make Arsenal look so as a club? Not even just the players. I'm talking about their executive staff and the people above the players. Don't that make them look really bad? Because
Hold on. Let's not.
players.
No, B. I don't. This is what I want you to do. I don't want you to sway Ryan's mind because Ryan just come in. So Ryan have a fresh
Yeah.
take on it. So
Okay,
Figo,
okay,
Ryan,
okay.
yeah. Let
yeah,
me.
you got to ask the question. And right, you got to say, should players be like not mandated? Should players take pay
Okay.
cuts under the
Should players
unprecedented
take
times that we're in?
right? So first we talked. Initially we talked about should players take pay cuts due to the unprecedented times. But now we're kind of jumping into Ozil and basically trying to figure out who the snitch is in Arsenal locker room, and it kind of boiled into basically it kind of you guys always give us entertainment, so it kind of started to boil into the point where is Ozil the only one that's being criticized? And should Ozil be criticized for this? Just for standing up to Arsenal's billionaires, and they have the opportunity to do.
I really want to hear Ryan's take on whether players, like just generally, whether players should
Okay.
take pay cuts. And then on the back end, it's a two-ended question. On the back end, is Ozil getting fair treatment by being ridiculed by the press and the football world?
Okay, here's the thing, in my opinion. In football created their own problem, right? So it's hard for me to say that Ozil or anybody else, right, should be offering to take pay cuts, okay? Because when I in the past said there should be some form of wage structure, salary caps, guys laughed at, guys threw stones at me. Guys like a cunt. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
So now that the clubs are crying wolf, they're saying they can't afford to pay the players and the staff members and this and that. That shouldn't be the problem. Okay. Now, if it gets to a point like Portsmouth, right, where the club can't afford to pay the players, period, then the players are just out of a job and they have to apply for unemployment like everybody else, right? But Stan Kroenke is a billionaire, right? So why should Ozil stop getting paid? No Arsenal player right now should have to cut their wages unless Stan Kroenke is somehow taking a pay cut as well. Okay? The NFL just had their draft on
Yesterday. 2 days ago. 2 days ago.
Yeah, Friday. And I don't hear Bernard, are any of the LA Rams taking pay cuts?
But they're not in season right now, Ryan.
They're not
this is the biggest chunk of the season.
That's a part
Right.
of it.
Oh,
So
you guys-
you're not in season.
They're forecasting revenue, and that revenue is not there. So that's why they're saying
the NFL draft is also revenue. Jerry Jones had to make his pick from the comfort of his own home. So if you guys think that these guys aren't so my point is, on football, I don't hear
So my point is,
Jared Goff isn't taking a pay cut. Okay, whether they're in season or out of season, Jared Goff, his money comes from Stan Kroenke the same way Ozil's does, and Jared Goff is still getting.
Right. Let me ask you something.
Jared Goff restructured his deal.
All right, but let me ask you something, Ryan.
Yeah.
Let's say the highest player at the Cowboys is making $350,000 a week, right? Right. That's what he's making.
which he probably is
he's making, right? And then, because of a situation like this, Jerry Jones said, "Listen, he said everyone who worked the concession stands, we have to cut them off. We have to lay them off." But the club come to you, Jerry Jones come to you as players and say, "Listen, we have to cut these guys off. The only way we can save them is if everyone contributes." And 10 players contribute, but the 11th player who's making $350,000 a week said, "No, I don't want to contribute." Don't that sound funny to you? That don't sound morally
You have
wrong
to understand.
you.
No, because you have to understand, Ozil didn't get that $350,000 a week contract by
but that's irrelevant now.
playing nicely when it came to negotiation. I would tell Jerry Jones or Stan Kroenke, Jerry Jones bought a yacht for $1 million. I'll say if you sell your yacht for $100 million, then I will take a pay cut. That's fair, B. We're talking about billionaires
No, it's
asking
not.
billionaires to take a pay cut.
Ryan, but there's also a different, like, the rest of football is agreeing to this to this for the most part. Let's say like 95% of football.
Right.
Why am I doing this like Trump? 95% of football is agreeing to this. Holy cow. So it's not like it's the reason Ozil looks crazy to me, because I understand and I agree with you. The reason Ozil looks crazy to me is because everybody else has agreed to it except Ozil and one or two players in that locker room. So that's the only thing that to play devil's advocate, that it's not like only the Cowboys are being asked, right? It's everyone. And they're not contributing 10%. They're contributing 70%. I think Barcelona gave 100%. It was something crazy.
Right.
Like,
but some of these guys,
we need to stop bringing up Ozil's wages because that shouldn't be a factor. It's a percentage, so it's hitting everybody at the same percentage.
Okay.
All right.
So
Akan, this is what we're gonna do. Like Akan said, let's try to stop talking about Ozil, guys. So we're gonna try to see if we can mention somebody else. All right. Ozil's been the topic of conversation. Right.
Yeah,
but I'm saying, where's NLB?
But okay. If all five of us is in a room, we go to M's house right now, and M went and bought jerk chicken, right? Because again, it's the same thing on a smaller scale.
I made jerk
This is
chicken.
what this is the moral part that I'm talking about. The same thing on a smaller scale. We went to M's house. M is the only one that have food. Morally, you think M is just gonna sit there in front of us and M sit down and eat the jerk chicken by himself? Or M is gonna say, "Yo, fellas, you guys want something to eat?"
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
He's not legally obligated to do it for us, but it's common courtesy. We're in a situation where this is unprecedented time, and if everyone is contributing to this,
including the owner,
bad,
right, B?
Including the owner.
Then that's a different story.
Bad. One, it looks bad that he doesn't contribute. But bigger than that it looks bad is the fact that he came out.
I agree.
The media that he doesn't contribute, and then there's two other players that didn't contribute that they didn't even call their names.
So Ryan, your point would be moot then, because if the billionaires, if the owners are also contributing, then how are you going to use that point and say against them?
Where are their contributions? Yesterday, like I said, no, on Friday. So we're today, Saturday. So the other day, 2 days ago,
NFL draft. The NFL draft is
NFL draft. I beg, man.
So
the Rams,
if it's in the off season,
increase their wage.
What I'm saying is the off season. If football was in the off season right now, what do you think would be happening? Like it would be the same concept.
Right, they're missing 10, 12 games.
Right, but there's no guarantee. But there's no guarantee that the football season is going to start on time or at all. And these guys are still paying players. They're restructuring, like you said, they're restructuring contracts.
Okay, Ryan. If they're acting like they're pretending that the season will still go on, like hopefully by August this is all going to be gone, right?
Okay,
what
so
they're doing now in the summer.
Let me rebuttal real fast. If the players are to be taking pay cuts right now, why is Chelsea linked with Coutinho? Why are they buying players? Why are you linked with
journalists have to sell papers? Links don't mean anything unless you pay cash.
You know how many
players?
Yeah, you know how many players Arsenal is linked to? Because what does that do? That doesn't.
So how about this? Until the players no longer have to take pay cuts, the club should not sign anybody. You guys agree with that?
No,
because where's the money?
There's different.
If you're asking
different money allocated. Brian, this is what I said. Go ahead, B.
Go ahead now. Finish. No.
What I said was, I think because it's 10% of the weekly wages? Is it 10% of your annual wages? Like there's certain nuances into contracts that we got to look at. That's number one. Number two is that there's a way where you can wait the 3 or 4 months, right? Like agree on a certain percentage based off of So it's like let's forecast how much money we think we're gonna lose, right? Let's meet in the middle of that, right? Once the league starts back up and we start getting money, then we can come to an actual number of how much money that it's going to need, like that exact percentage that you're going to need in order to make it fair on the owner's part, on everybody's part. You get what I'm saying? So waiting it out and not just saying 10%. You get what I'm saying? So I think that's where Ozil has a lot of like resistance. Is like my 10% is 10 times more than these niggas, like these guys. My 10% is more than these guys. You know? So it's like, why am I contributing X amount of money and this guy's not contributing X amount of money? Like, I'd rather contribute to an organization.
Go ahead, Akan.
I think Ozil's issue, as well as is the way that the club is approaching this whole thing. There's a right way and a wrong way to do it. They didn't do it the right way. They put pressure. They went to the media. They made him look bad. They smeared him. Because at the end of the day, Ozil has a reputation for being a very generous player. He donates money all the time. He's got a history of making charitable contributions. I'm sure he had donating money. He's done so in the past, but the way that the club went after it, you know that they have this underlying agenda. They want to get rid of him. They think he makes too much. So that in itself is undermining their request for generosity when they do that. Ozil say, no, let me do it the way I want to do it. I'm a generous guy. I have no issue donating 10%, 15%, whatever.
But before this was leaked,
I think Ozil's right as a player since it's his money.
He said no. He didn't say no after the leak.
Yeah, he said no again. Remember, I think we all agree that it's legally the player has the choice to take the money, to take the pay cut, yes or no. But what happened is just the club just looks really bad because the club deliberately threw him under the bus. And there are other players. Say it again?
I think the club comes out looking worse than Ozil, in my opinion.
Yes, it does. Yes, they do. Because they deliberately, and I guarantee you, there are players at other clubs that decide that they don't want to take a pay cut, but you're not seeing their name in the media. And in fact, and not even at the other, there are players at Arsenal that didn't take it, and their names are not in there. So I just think the club, they did it deliberately because this is another way to try to force Ozil hand to try to get him out of the club, but to try to make him look bad.
They shouldn't be going through Hector Bellerin. They should be going through lawyers and agents if they really want.
That's what I said.
Well,
go ahead, Fico.
And the head coach. It's not right.
The wages in football is so damaged. Like Man United is paying before if I'm a Man United player, I'll say before I give up my wages, you need to release Alexis Sanchez and stop paying him. And take that money and go pay some of the concession workers. Go pay the physios, right? Alexis Sanchez is still getting Manchester United money. Jose Mourinho is still getting Manchester United money, okay? So Jose Mourinho is still getting Chelsea money.
So Ryan, you think that we have not tried to get rid of Sanchez? That's not how. So you think we haven't tried to get rid of Sanchez? That's not how it works. We can't just get rid of Sanchez like that.
Is that's how much money is being circulated. You cannot ask these guys to take a pay cut.
There's so much money being made in other sports. Just because they don't get paid weekly, you probably don't look at it. But only a few players get $400,000 a week. Like that club is very small.
I think Ryan is saying that the money is there. Go find it.
The money's there.
That's what I'm saying. The money is there.
I get it.
You got to do the math, though. You can't just throw that out in the air because guys are getting certain money based on the forecasting of money coming in. When money's not coming in, bro, there's been like, 12 games missed?
But fellas, it doesn't matter. Listen, it doesn't matter if the issue is not about if the money is there. It's just the way how it looks.
Ryan is so close to the camera.
When you have people being laid off. When you have people being laid off.
Bernard. When Manchester City, right, writes blank checks to buy players. When Manchester City gets a new goalkeeper in 2 consecutive seasons, right? Why aren't we talking about the rules and regulations and what the right thing to do with the money at that point when it comes to being fair? Why aren't we fair then when the clubs are spending the money? Now it's time for the clubs to pay to pay out their players when they don't have any money coming in. Now we want to be fair. Aren't we?
Okay, all right. Let me answer you because you know why.
Man City doesn't have Arsenal problems though. We're talking about a particular club.
All right,
right.
let me answer you.
Go ahead, B.
Point. Stan Kroenke is look up Stan Kroenke's net worth.
Yes,
you guys
he's worth he's a billionaire.
An article the other day in the WhatsApp group, and Stan Kroenke was the third richest owner in the league.
He's probably funneling money into the club as well, but
yeah.
B, what you saying? Hold on.
The owners of 95% of the owners of 95% of the clubs are billionaires, right? Everybody's still donating, so we're missing something at Arsenal where a guy's like, no, I'm not donating. You can't act like it's crazy.
Let me know your insight on this one, man.
Stan Kroenke, when you got the thing you guys posted the other day.
Ryan, is your name B or is your name Ryan? I'm asking B what his thoughts are on the thing, and you just starts blazing everybody. What's going on? B, what do you say?
It's just as I said before. Again, I understand what Ryan is saying. Because Ryan is saying the money's there. But it's my point is that it's irrelevant. Why is it irrelevant? Because this is unprecedented times, right? So this is a situation that has never happened before. So if they're asking you to contribute, you can say yes or no. But if it comes out in the media that everyone contributed and you didn't contribute, it makes you look like an ass.
Not to me. You know why? Go ahead.
Of course, it's gonna make you look like that. And again, people don't want to talk about the money, but it's one thing if you are making 5,000 and they ask you to contribute, and you're like, you know what? I'm not making that much money. So, but when you're making 350,000 a week and they're asking you to contribute, and you said you don't want to contribute, but it came out in the media. That is why this is an issue. That's why it becomes a big story, because it makes Ozil looks crazy. And then when you compare Ozil to other players who are talisman of their club,
when
and
you
those
go to
guys
church,
are contributing 70% or this amount or that amount, it makes Ozil look like, what? How are you not contributing? And all of those guys are contributing.
When you go to church,
yes, my man got metaphors for days.
You put what you want to put in the collection plate. Okay? I'm sitting right next to you. I put what I want to put in the collection plate. Some people, they put 10% of their wages in the collection plate. But the church, the pastor, he cannot tell me what to put in the collection plate.
Yeah, but that's a regular Sunday that you go to church, or a regular Saturday.
It's not unprecedented
We're talking unprecedented times. We're talking about a time that we don't know that if you cough, someone might fall right there and die. Like these are this is different, my brother.
Listen. If those guys,
let's say we all go to a strip club and everybody has money. I'm just trying to say, Brian, like
why you gotta use Yo, all right, hold on. So Akan, everybody's talking about unprecedented time. Nahum, you a fool, man. Akan,
Ryan is heavy, dog.
Times, right? Like, he's right. He's right. This is unprecedented time.
You know what's funny, Em? You know what's funny?
Yeah.
You know what's funny? B right now, B has on a kit, right? That put money in Stan Kroenke's pocket. You know what I'm saying?
Akan, we talk about unprecedented times, all right? So that, and B was right. So how do you think, we're looking at it from one perspective, but how can teams actually use this to their advantage, right? There are some teams that they were not on a roll. There are some teams that were actually had a 10-game winning streak. I don't want to call any names, but there were some teams that had
6
players. There are some teams that had contracts set. Like, how can teams use this to their advantage?
I mean, what the clubs can do is, start to lawyer up, because that's what it's going to take. A lot of contracts are going to come into dispute. People, I'm sure, had contracts ending in the summer or in January. There's going to be all types of clauses that may have been activated, may not have been activated based off of appearances, hardship clauses. Guys got to look at their contracts and see what agreements they could come to, because there's going to be a lot of battles between clubs, between players, and what's the most organized teams are the ones that are going to come out on top. Because you can look at Arsenal, and we're already screwing up. There's already infighting. This whole Ozil situation, Bellerin, Arteta. There's clashes, but the clubs that are well run, those clubs are going to benefit because they would have been on top of this stuff.
So Nahom, you have one player in particular. He's on the contract bubble. I think we talked about it last time that we ruined our podcast recording. But what are your thoughts on this Chelsea situation that you guys have? Because you guys have a couple of really good players. Their contracts are up. We don't know when the league is going to be started again. They did say something about May 18th preseason, June 9th for actual game, but who knows? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I honestly, like I've said in previous podcasts, I don't think the league is going to happen. I saw Germany's plan, and it was wearing masks and all this stuff. It just doesn't make sense. There isn't so. I don't have an idea of what it's going to look like when they start up. Is what I'm trying to tell you. But the one way that I think, in terms of Willian, I don't want Willian at Chelsea anymore. As long as he doesn't go to Arsenal, Tottenham, or that's it. Go to Liverpool.
But that's just
as long as I hate those two clubs.
Use Willian as an example.
All that matters.
Yeah, we can use Willian as an example.
So Willian came out and said he's willing. Let's say the season goes on to I think in June, start of June. He's willing to negotiate like a month by month basis or something like that. So I think contract wise, I think they'll figure it out because these guys generally tend to be guys that have good relationships with the club. I think Vertonghen, Willie, those guys the high scale guys, I think they'll be all right. But I agree with the con in regards to just lowering up. The teams that do a good job of just handling the situation are going to be well off. The one impact I think is going to have like players' price points are going to be different. No club, unless a city, somebody with unlimited bank, is going to spend $120 million on a player this coming window. So the negotiations are going to be interesting to see in terms of how much.
Some players are able to. Manchester United are able. Well, they have been they fully financed all their stuff. Like they're still a fully funded operation.
How
crazy? So players are able.
How crazy will United look?
No, that's the thing. So the backlash, the backlash that you would get on spending 160 for Sancho is not the same in these unprecedented times. We always use that U word. Is not the same that you would if everything was normal and you spend 160 on Sancho. Like those are two different things. Like you spend 160 on one man, and the NHS is out here trying to save. You know what I'm saying?
Clubs won't spend the money because of that. Of what picture that will say about them. Like, we're in a crisis right now where we have like a 22 employed and we're spending $120 million on one. That's going to look.
So,
and they're going to be financially able enough to do it.
So Figo. So I read a couple articles. They were talking about there's no fans for La Liga. Like they're talking about having no fans for La Liga. They're talking about having the Bundesliga stars play with a mask, and if the mask falls off, they're gonna stop the play, and then they're trying all these different things. What are your thoughts on the club and how they're taking action?
So first and foremost, let me say this: I don't understand why you guys would think that soccer players can't play with a mask when NFL players play with a helmet, shoulder pads, knee pads, butt pads, thigh pads, and whatever else they play with. Rip Hamilton.
So we're getting the game. We're getting the game to a point where we're going to be wearing facial masks, and then we're going to stop the game at the game if the mask falls off. Like I don't care if you want to put. Look at Peter Cech. Peter Cech has this little crown on his head the whole time. But
has a mask that wraps. It's like it wraps all the way around her. They're not going to fall off. Okay, they're not going to be wearing the mask that your doctor wears in the doctor's office. If that's what you guys are thinking. All right. Afterwards, I'll send you a picture of what type of mask these guys are going to be wearing. So if an NFL player can wear a mask for an entire game, why can't a football player? Why can't a
because
football
they've never done it, Ryan. They've never done it. And when you start that's so you're accustomed them to wear a mask and run 90 minutes, that might have impact on results.
If a hockey player can run around a ice rink on skates, okay, shoulder pads,
Americans, dog.
a stick, for however many minutes a hockey game is, a footballer can do it. The footballers are the most.
Okay, so all footballers can skate. Can all footballers skate?
No.
Okay, exactly. So not all footballers are gonna feel comfortable putting on a. Don't make me curse, Figo. Not all players are gonna be comfortable like putting this thing on because it's not. This is not how you grew up playing the sport. So a person that is skating around with hockey pads, they've been doing that since they were 12, right?
And
Players that play with a helmet on, they've been doing that since they were 4.
When Rip Hamilton broke a cheekbone, he wore a mask for the rest of his career. Rip Hamilton became an NBA All-Star with a mask on his face. You guys are making too big of a deal out of it.
It was
right. It wasn't.
It was uncomfortable at first.
Yeah. On his nose where you can breathe. You have the whole purpose of the whole wearing the mask is so that you can't, like, it's literally a test of like a candle. Can you blow out a candle, right? And that's on your nose, that obstruction. Did Rip Hamilton have something covering his nose, like his nostrils? No.
Listen, football players are the trickiest athletes on earth. Okay, we dive, we roll around 10 times on a pitch. If you have a mask on, you want to take a breath. You know how football players are going to do. They're gonna when the referee's not looking, they're going to turn aside and take a breath and blow a snot rocket. That's what we do. So they'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying, B? They'll figure it out.
You're dealing with a virus, not a broken nose, bro.
They'll figure it out.
Let me put it like this. One, the league will happen because if you could tell that I think Arsenal is going back to training next week, right? They're going back to individual training next week. They're going back. I think, and again, what they're doing is it's like when you're in college and they said they have remember when the coach used to say that they have captain's practice?
Yeah,
something like that, right? They have training, but they're gonna call it that's their captain's practice. So they have individual training where they're still trying to do the social distancing. That's the first thing. So that gives me the indication that the league is going to happen. That's one. And two, I don't think they're going to wear a mask. I just think that's the newspapers and the media doing what they do to try to story up stuff. I think if it gets to a point where once they decide to play the league, that means they're already at a point that they think everyone has tested negative and it's safe for them to play, right? So I think they're going to play the games regularly, but there will be no fans, just for them to have more precaution. So there's no issues. That's what I think is going to. I don't think there will be a mask, so I think that would be a moot point.
So now, Akan, real quick. Okay, go ahead with your point.
There's too much money at stake in the Premier League for them to cancel the season.
There's
promotion.
Okay.
All of that is riding on the Premier League, and they don't care about the players' safety.
The U.S. economy is shut down. Money. They'll say screw money. There's been that's not even a quarter of what the U.S. economy, the hit that it's taken, my friend. They don't care about that money.
They care.
All it takes is one guy.
Akan.
One guy tests positive,
and that's it, and the party done.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Tested positive.
Okay.
And players too.
Yeah, but now home. My question is why is it that they are allowing players to go back to their training ground? There must be a reason.
Arsenal's doing it. Arsenal can have their own protocol.
No. Now home. Think about it.
We live on that new
Arsenal have
today.
Have that protocol. That means other clubs have something similar or are about to have something. Arsenal is not going to go out on the limb and do something that other clubs are not allowed to do.
My big thing is I think nobody has, just like in America, we don't have like a step out approach. We literally in America just figured out how in late May we might be able to go out and go shopping and those doors where people are getting it, testing negative, and then testing positive, all types of stuff happening. I don't think we have enough of a control on this virus for them to say, "Yo, go play." If you're doing a captain training now, what is going to happen 3 months? I mean, not even a month from now that you think 11 on 11 can happen, players on the bench, like Like what science do you think is going to need to happen? But they're testing players when they come to the training ground as well too.
Figo, one thing that we're talking about right now is the cancellation of seasons and if the season is actually going to keep going. So one league in particular, Eredivisie. I know you guys that's in the Dutch league. So they actually canceled their league. They canceled their season. So Figo, my question now is, will that have an impact on the decision for the top European clubs and leagues?
No, the league is too small.
So you believe that
There are how many? Listen, when you ask me questions, don't ask me questions about leagues that only have one Champions League spot. All right.
Yo,
okay. Okay. So you're telling me that those guys don't matter?
No.
Ajax.
No. They have one Champions League spot. They send the same team to Champions League every year, and if they're lucky, they'll make it out of the group stage. We don't talk about Dutch league. Next
if
question.
they're lucky, bro, they're in the Champions League semifinal.
And then this year they're in Europa. This year they're in Europa League, which made it very easy for them to cancel their season.
B, what you say, B?
That wouldn't matter. What happens in Champions League doesn't matter. In their domestic league.
Right, but they're in Europa right now.
Oh, right.
Champions League spot since their league is canceled.
Say that again.
The top, so everything stays as is. Everything stays as is. So
everything
the
is
teams
as is.
that
Yeah, it all stays the same.
Yeah,
everything
Which
stays
again,
the same.
which again,
So they have no chance.
No
champion because they're tied on points with the. Yeah.
Okay, but
So again, which
So
there are two things that's so wrong with that.
Go on, go ahead, B.
There are two teams tied with the top
There are two things that's so wrong with that. One, for them canceling the league, right? So they made a decision to cancel the league. But then when they made a decision to cancel the league, the common sense thing would do is to say, you know what? Okay, the team that's leading, that's the team that's going to win. That's the team that would automatically win. But they make a decision that say, you know what? No, everything is null and void. So the team that's leading, so they don't have.
There's no team. I don't think there's a team leading. They're tied on.
Yes.
They're tied on like 40-something points. I thought.
All right, now, home. Let's dive into this now.
No, they're tied on.
They're tied, wait. Okay, I get it. They're tied on points. What is the next thing you do when two teams are tied on points?
Goal difference.
No, the season,
okay.
Liverpool. If the league canceled today, there's no Liverpool are not champions. It's null and void. That's it.
Yeah, but that don't make no sense. How can it be null and void and you play more than half the season?
Doesn't matter. That's the rule.
You didn't complete the season. So one of the things, they have all these different alternatives. But B, what do you think the best alternative is? They have cancel the season, do it based on the same thing that you were doing, cancel the season and just make it null and void. They have another option where we just keep the season as is and wherever position is. They have an option where you set it based on some math. I don't even know what they're like. All these different options. B, what is your take on what the best option is?
The best option is wait until everything is safe, as what they're doing in Germany, as what they're going to do in England. Wait until everything is safe. Then you finish out the rest of the season. You cannot have a
define safety.
Define safe. Like
we really don't know right now.
In Florida or in Atlanta, where people are going to beaches, it's safe. Once it. Germany have set a date on when their league is. Of course, Germany has set a date on when their league is about to start.
So send me that date. I didn't see that info.
Listen,
yes, those guys, they have set a date on when their league. Those guys.
What's that date? What's that date?
Tell you guys.
I think it's the 9th of May, something around there.
They're able to set that date because these countries, the rest of the world, they're taking their cues from America and what America does. And America, our president has decided that our country is open for business.
Shut up, man.
What that
He said Trump got us.
He's trying to open up.
And nobody. The German prime minister is like a chemist. She is not listening to Trump. Okay.
Angela Merkel
she's a chemist.
We got to get back.
Yeah.
German
As long as you guys,
detergent.
don't drink laundry detergent or
Me,
Clorox bleach or
me.
nothing like that, we cool.
If you have family in Georgia and Florida, tell them don't listen to whatever they're saying. Stay home, man.
Yo, B, all we gotta do is give, like I said, 2 injections of Lysol and we twiggy.
Twiggy. Bam. Hat-trick.
All right, guys. All right. So with that said, our family time has come to an end, man. Thank you, Figo, for jumping in.
Yeah,
Thank
man,
you,
little
G.
more. B, I see you, G.
Thank you, Naho. Thank you, Akan. I'm the guy with the headphones. Well, I don't have no headphones today, but I'm the other guy. Thank you guys for listening. Yeah, I don't have my beard. I'm starting to grow my beard out, but don't worry, I'll get rid of it, Figo. You're gonna be the only guy with the gray beard in the group. So yeah, so let me. Oh yeah, leave your thoughts, suggestions, feedbacks, any correction or any comments that you have. Put that in the section below. You can like us and follow us on Patreon. So that's patreon.com/ the soccer family, Instagram at the.soccer.family, and Twitter at the soccer fam, and we have a YouTube channel. We're also trying to work on this website, but TBD. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Look more.
More, little more.
Listen.
Stop recording it now.
Next